Welcome to Gentle Yoga. In this practice, we will be focusing in on stability in through the sacrum and working through the hips, the neck, and the shoulders. And we'll start our practice on our back. So let's go ahead and join each other there. So as you arrive down on your back, create a comfortable space for you to come down onto. I love to have a blanket underneath me. It feels nice and cozy and supportive of my spine. And then also have some props close at hand, such as a strap and maybe a block or two. And once we arrive down on our backs, let's start in Shavasana. Let's start with dessert first. So let's go ahead and just make yourself comfortable. Maybe you want to stretch yourself out or bring your knees to your chest or your feet on the floor. Take a mindful moment here, connecting into your practice space. And then bending in your knees, prop your knees together and bring one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. And let's connect inside with our breath. When you breathe in, feel for opening up into your chest. Feel that fill all the way up into your lungs. And when you breathe out, pull your belly in, away from your hand and your pelvic floor up. Let's be mindful of the breath here as we center. Breathing in, opening through the chest. And when you're ready, breathing out, contracting around the abdominal space, and the pelvic floor lifts. Feel for withdrawing from external senses and bringing yourself into the present, tucking inside as we practice, listening to the wisdom that comes from within you, aligning with the breath, which is our life force energy. Prana rides on the breath waves. So let's focus in on that. And if you'd like to start with a moment of gratitude and offering a dedication for this practice, or maybe you have a sacred intention you'd like to set, take these next several breaths to align yourself with what that might be. If nothing comes to you, just feeling for your breath. And then open the knees to about hip width apart, hands resting beside your hips. Draw in your pelvic floor and lift one foot and bring it back down. Push down intentionally into that foot and then lift up the other foot and then bring it back down, engaging and pushing through that foot. Let's go back and forth with this little walking meditation. Keep a little bit of a lift in the pelvic floor and a little bit of toning in the low abs. If it feels safe for you to close your eyes, you're welcome to do so. If it feels safer for you to keep your eyes open, just relax your gaze somewhere up above you. And then let's go ahead and press down through one foot, extend out through the opposite leg, and push through the heel. And if you do have a wall space you can put your foot onto, press into that, or just imagine there's a wall there and you're pushing the heel, the ball of the foot onto that imaginary wall space, firming at your hip, squeezing in some tone through the inner leg and around the outside of your hip. Engaging in your belly, slide that foot up towards your hip and let's bring it in towards our chest, holding on with the same hand, and bring that knee in towards the medial line, in towards the center line, and give yourself a few breaths. Apply a comfortable amount of pressure with the hand on the outside of the knee, assisting that stretch from the knee to the hip. And then let's resist. Push that knee into your hand, opening the inner leg until your elbow comes down towards the floor. And we're going to add that little bit of resistance. Thigh bone pressing into the hand and the hand offering a little bit of support and resistance at the same time. Kind of balance between those two energies. And if you do have stuff going on in your hip or sciatica, if one of these positions feels better to you, choose that. Just stay with what feels good. And then bring the leg back up into a neutral shape. Take the hand on the top of the thigh between the knee and the hip, and then press your thigh into your hand and add a little bit of resistance. Just enough, like a flicker of energy coming down into the belly where you're not doing anything that feels too taxing. And then letting it go. Step down with the foot, hand beside the hip, and then extend out through the other leg. Straighten it along the mat, dorsiflexing the foot. Firming the muscles, hugging around the bones. Keep reaching, creating some space, intentional space into your hip. This other foot, pressing down for some support. Pull in your abs and your pelvic floor. Bend the knee that's straight, and let's bring the leg up and take the hand around the knee or around the outside of the leg. Guiding that knee in towards the medial line, come in towards center, and using that hand to just gently press until you have a feel-good stretch on the outside line. Resist back just a tiny bit with the thigh bone. So there's some action coming into the leg instead of a passive stretch. And let's open the thigh out to the side and prop up with the elbow, kind of like a little kickstand, and offer a little bit of resistance with your thigh pushing into your hand and your hand pressing into your thigh. Sending your breath down into your belly. Continue with that feeling of every exhale, we pull our belly in. On the inhales, we open through the heart and the chest. And then assist your leg back up over your hip. Take the same hand on the front of the thigh, and then press thigh into hand, hand into thigh. If you start to feel a cramping in your hip, then that's too much. Feel for where there's some space there and there's some action, but there's no feeling like a binding where you're getting the muscle cramps. Sometimes I'll get that on my hips with this shape. So just being mindful, not too much. And then stepping your foot down. Go in and out with your knees a few times, your hands resting somewhere on your hip bones or beside you on the floor. And then bring that first side, that ankle up on the thigh, the opposite thigh, and take both of your hands and gently press your legs away from your hips. Sending your breath down into your pelvis. and pressing the ankle on the thigh so that you get some action there. You can explore the position in your low back and your sacrum as well. You could turn the tailbone up, neutral, or down, or a combination, like you're doing a little baby cat cow there. Or if one of those positions feel better to you, just stick with that. And we can stay here for about 5 more breaths, or pick up the opposite foot, wrap your hands around your legs or feet between the thigh into a back release pose, a cousin to pigeon. Lengthening out your lower back. So we open up those bones in the low spine. Oftentimes it gets really tight in that outer hip, or there's something going on in the lower back. For some of us that get sciatica, that nervy sharpness that works its way down towards the foot. So stretches like this can be helpful for some of us. But feel for opening up the space around the outside of your hip, the piriformis, the glutes, and in the low back. And then slowly easing on out of that. And let's bring your feet to the mat. Take a long breath, being a witness. Coming into the now. And then the other ankle rests up on the other thigh, and then activate it by pressing and taking your hands for a little traction against your legs, guiding your thigh bones away from your pelvis. Sending your breath all the way down and through, and completing the exhales as they rise up and out, contracting in the abs. Feel for that sweet spot where you open up your hips, and if you do have pain, that you're moving towards relief. And if you'd like to raise the foot from the earth and wrap your arms around the legs or feet between, feeling into and breathing into back release pose. Maybe a little bit of rocking in the pelvis or holding it still. Easing on out, bringing your feet back down to the mat, and gift yourself another breath. Widening out your feet, bring your feet as wide as the mat, and bring your arms up above your head. And some of you may want to bend your elbows. Some of you may want to extend farther up above you. Let the knees go to the right and then look to the left. There's an option here to hook that bottom ankle up onto the thigh or keep your foot down on the mat. Taking your time with the breath, feel it spread now, focusing in on the chest, breathing up into your chest as you flood your lungs. Feel for the breath bathing around your heart and your shoulders. And then exhale, let your knees go to the left, and let's look to the right. Pressing through the instep of your right foot, opening up through the front of your hip, and that other option, If available to you, hooking your ankle up onto your thigh, adding that additional amount of weight to the stretch. Lifting and focusing on the chest, the breath bathing your chest, your breast tissue, your shoulders, up into your neck. Easing on back into center and bringing your arms down. Give yourself another mindful moment here. Crossing your right thigh over your left thigh, squeezing between your legs, and then bring your arms up. Eagle variation. Bring your left elbow so it's opposite of the thigh on top. Bring your left elbow on top and imagine giving yourself a big bear hug here. Wrapping your hands around the shoulders, elbows facing up towards the sky. So take a few breaths, widening out the breath in between the shoulder blades and squeezing through your legs and your sit bone muscles. So feel sit bones squeezing in towards your tail. Maybe even a little bit of a pelvic floor lift there. And then opening up into eagle, you could stay here hugging your shoulders, or if you can intertwine your forearms, keep lifting your elbows up away from your face, your forearms and wrists coming up too. In this reclined eagle, feel in these next 5 breaths where you would like to focus. Maybe it's the lower body, maybe it's the upper body, or somewhere else. Maybe it's on the intention we set for practice. Keep centering the mind on the breath. On your exhale, unwind your arms and bring your hands behind your head, interlace your fingers, widening out your elbows. On the exhale, curl and lift your head from the mat, keeping your elbows wide or at a comfortable width. Holding up here for a few breaths, feeling for this center core contraction. It may feel a little more challenging for you to breathe here. Squeezing through the thighs, the foot on the floor, you can press that down for a little more stability and support. Every exhale, draw the belly in and the pelvic floor in. And then on the exhale, traction your neck on the way down. Unwinding your legs, and then bring your left leg up on top, pushing against the right foot on the floor. Squeezing in your legs. Arms coming up. Reach up as high above your chest as you can, spreading through your fingers. And then let's cross right elbow on top. Give your arms a hug, your hands around your shoulders, elbows right up over your chest. Stay active here, so don't let the arms drop toward your face. Lift them up towards the sky. Where would you like to focus here to center yourself with? Your mind, your breath. And if you'd like to intertwine the forearms or explore some kind of shaping in this way, continue with your breath for about 3 to 5 more breaths. Unwinding your arms. And then taking your hands back behind you, widen the elbows, open through your chest and your collarbones. And on the exhale, lift your head from the mat. Feel for the front line contracting to lift you up from the earth. The foot on the floor pressing down and the pelvic floor in. A little bit of Q-tips there. That's a little weird. Every exhale, pull your belly in and your pelvic floor up. Little mula bandha. And then exhale, tractioning the neck on the way down. Letting this go, unwinding your legs. Give yourself a moment. Reset, come into center. And then let's join each other up onto all fours. Rolling to your side and then making your way up. Patting up your knees and your hands. You may want to have a block underneath your hands or come up onto the fingertips, especially if your wrists are really tight or needing a little more support. So just choose a hand position, lots of support under the knees for some cat and cow. Another tip, another Q tip, you may want to bring something between your legs, hold on to it, such as a block. So you're offering a little more support to your sacrum, activating those inner legs. And after exhale, come into neutral. Let's release the block and take 2 blocks or 2 props to the top of your mat, and let's step 1 foot between your blocks. And then your blocks can be on each side of the front foot, or you can bring those blocks to the inside of your front foot. And then once you're here, let's take a few breaths. Sit your hips back away from your head so you get all this length coming into your spine. Reaching through the top of your head and sitting back with your hips. This front foot, push down into the floor until you feel those muscles engage. Rolling out through that front leg from the hip, opening the knee out. And if that feels pinchy in your sacrum, you may want to do the opposite. Hug the knee in towards the elbow or do a combination of rolling in and out. If you're combining these 2 moves, can you tap into the flow of breath as a guide? So when you're breathing in, opening, and when you're breathing out, contracting. planting down firmly and evenly through that front foot. Let's come up onto our front thigh. Widening out as needed for balance. So if you feel like you're going to fall over, just like I beautifully just demonstrated, go ahead and widen that out. And then take the outside arm and lift it up. Press your thumb back, opening up from the knee up through the hip, through the psoas, chest as you reach up. Think of 2 points moving in opposite directions here, at the knee to the earth, the hand towards the sky. Give yourself maybe 2 or 3 more breaths. And reach out through the extended arm in front of you. Make a fist, and let's pull the fist towards your chest. Send that arm out away from your shoulder so there's some space and stretch coming in between your shoulder blades on that side. And release, take that same hand, fingers down, and if you can pull, just stretch into the palm and across the top inside of your forearm. Feel that. You can angle it down or bring it up. And then let it go. Shake out that hand. Find your blocks, and let's open that front foot out to the side. Out to the side here. Center the blocks underneath your shoulders and take a few breaths. I like lifting my toes here so that it helps build that core all the way from the arch of my foot into my pelvis. Pressing the knee back. Maybe 3 more breaths. And then come up onto the standing knee, coming into a variation of gate pose. The back of the hand to the inside of the knee, the other arm comes up, and then reaching up and over. In Parigasana, feel for opening and expanding. If you'd like to take this longer into the stretch of the back line, you're welcome to walk that foot out in front of the knee. Continue to use the breath as an inspiration for the flow of energy. So when we're breathing in, the chest opens. When we're breathing out, we're engaging in the middle core. And coming on up, let's take one of our blocks, bring it over to that outside hip, and then turn the toes of the other leg forward. So we're going to be standing on that hand on the block and then come up and over with the other arm. So you get this long line from your hand to your foot. Another variation of gate. Feeling for those lines with your breath, being more spacious and open. Your head coming back so there's no strain. And to release, sit back and let's go ahead and take our blocks around in front and over to that opposite side of the foot. And then lean your body forward and then bring the knee under your hip. That tends to be a little bit easier on the sacrum and the low back. find out what works for you. And then let's go ahead, bring those blocks around in front of you, come up and just shake it out a little bit, a little full shimmy, resetting of our intention and our focus. Giving that opportunity to stay in the moment and to center the prana. Let the prana move freely without us trying. And bring your other foot between the blocks. And remember your options, a variety. You can bring them to the inside of the foot, around the foot, or adjust accordingly, maybe even the hands to the floor. Sit your hips back away from your head and then lengthen out. Feel that pull as your crown lifts and your hips reach. And that front leg, you can go in and out or find a position that you want to hold, depending on how this hip feels or how this side is. And then plant the foot firmly, pull in your belly, and let's climb up to your leg. Lengthening out the low back, a little pelvic tilt here, widen out your stance is needed for balance, and then bring that outside opposite arm up. Get really long from your hand down to your shin. Returning our focus into centering on the breath. Bring your hand out and make a fist. Pull your fist towards your chest. And your hand, fingertips down, pulling back, stretching into the bones of the fingers up to the wrist and forearms. Shoulders relaxing down, lifting through the heart. And then shake it out without falling over. And reach for your blocks. And let's bring that outside leg, the other side open. And lifting the toes is an option, pressing that thigh out. Some external rotation here as we come into our hips. Keep sitting your pelvis back. Don't tuck the tailbone under. Reach back, press through your shin and your foot. And then let's come on up and bring the hand to the inside edge, assisting that opening and bringing the outside arm up and over. Feel for a side bend here. And if you'd like to take this towards full gate, Parigasan, you can stretch that leg out towards the short end of your mat. Or if you want to stay upright, find where you can connect with your breath with more of a sense of ease. And coming on up, and let's take our block to the other side of the mat and dial the toes so that they face forward. Your hand on the block and then reaching up and over in gate on the second side. Press your thumb back, open your chest, and reach down into your foot. Three or four more breaths, focusing in on inhale, opening your chest. Exhale, contracting belly, maybe even the pelvic floor. Sitting back, find your other block, and let's bring it over to that side. You may need to do a little swivel with that standing knee and shin. Lean forward and then bring your knees under you, and let's take our hands back around. On the blocks or on the floor, some cat and cow, or if you like Chakravakasana, sitting back towards the feet, and then breathing in, scooping forward. So rolling wheel or cat cow. And then resting into child's pose, knees open or closed, with or without a bolster. Coming down, and if you are using a bolster, you may want to turn your head to one side and give yourself 3 breaths, and then turn your head the other direction for 3 breaths. Or if you're not using the bolster, hands beside the feet or out in front of you. And bringing yourself back on up. And let's go ahead and bring our hands back on underneath our shoulders. So you're on all fours. And center your chest right over your thumbs. Press down and then extend back through your left leg. The toes can tuck under on the floor or lift them up depending on how that feels in your sacrum. Feel for your abdominals pulling in so your low back feels support. And then bring your knee under your hip and let's come to the second side. Your foot up or down. Returning your knee under your hip, opposite arm leg extension. Right arm, left leg extends. That foot can be down or up. And exhale, hands to the mat, left arm, right leg. Breathe in, extend. Breathe out, bring it down. And continue to switch. If you feel like you're going to fall over, are you working with opposites? Sometimes our brain gets a little scrambled and we start working right arm, right leg, and then you feel like you're going to fall over. So try to be working with the opposites. And you can continue with this, or after you've evenly practiced, come down on your belly. So those of you that can come under your belly, come into some cobra push-ups. Breathing in, coming up, and exhale, coming down, or that opposite arm leg extension. Breathing in, open it up, and out, coming down. One or two more times with cobra push-ups or opposite arm leg extension. And then resting in either child's pose or resting prone with your forehead on your hands. Checking in, how are you feeling? How centered is your mind? Uniting with your breaths. Bringing yourself back on up. And let's go ahead and take a seat. Come sit comfortably. You may want to sit crossing your legs, or you may want to explore Virasana, which is hero's pose, something between your ankles or your feet. And you may need to build a little throne for yourself if you choose this, where you're taking several blocks or several pillows so your hips are up to bring comfort to the knees and the feet. So either here or sitting cross-legged or even feet out in Baddha Konasana. Once you come into a meditative seat, let's take a few moments more. Connecting back in with the breath. Maybe the hand on the chest, the hand on the belly will be a helpful resource. Taking your hands forward out in front of you, bending at the elbows, and feel for flexing your chest. Your thumbs facing you, your fingers spreading open. And breathe in, open through the chest, and let's take a cactus shape here, lifting through the face. Shoulders relaxing down. Reaching your arms up, an imaginary wall space, or if you're at the wall, slide your arms up above you. It's a really big stretch as you're lifting. And then bend the elbows. Let's bring them down towards the ribs. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and then turn your palms so that they face the sky. Feel for widening out the breath through the chest. Squeezing and contracting between the shoulder blades. Bring your hands in close to your shoulders. Pick up the elbows and go in and out. If you can't touch the shoulders, they're moving in that direction. And then when your elbows come forward, eagle, bring right elbow on top, hugging onto the shoulders or intertwining forearms, maybe the hands. Spreading your breath into your upper back. Press the right elbow down, that top arm down into the bicep a little bit, and experiment with the height of your elbows and how that feels in your arms and your shoulders. Unwinding your arms, letting it go. Roll the shoulders. If you're sitting crossing your legs, go ahead and cross so the other leg is forward. If you feel like you need to give your body a little bit of a stretch out of your asana, you're welcome to come into a little downward facing dog, lengthening out the back of your legs. And then coming back down, either crossing legs and or returning into heroes. And take a mindful moment. What does it feel like inside? Where do you feel your breaths? Taking your hands so that they're facing forward, press out, come into that plank shape, spreading across your fingers. Lift through the chest, bring your head back over your spine. Palms up, and then touch the top of your shoulders. And extend the arms back and forth. And when your palms extend out and your arms open up, take a few breaths. Reach out towards the sides of the room. And then we can do this little move of rolling open and down, back and forth. If there's any pinching, if there's something that does not feel correct in your body, adjust. And then bend the elbows, slide your arms up, reach way up above you. Bend the elbows, squeezing the shoulder blades in, the elbows hugging in, and your palms reach out. Press your thumbs back towards the wall behind you. Your head comes back over your spine. And then send the arms forward. Eagle, bringing your left elbow on top or holding the shoulders like we did when we were on our back. Pressing that top arm down and explore the angle that you have your elbows. And exhale, unwind. Roll the shoulders. A little bit of cat-cow and or downward facing dog, or stretching your legs out in front of you in Dandasana. And then coming down onto the knees if you're up. And let's make our way back onto our backs once again. And have your props nearby. Once we make our way down onto our back, let's come into a stretch for our neck. So you may want to take a rolled up blanket or towel underneath the neck, so you give your neck a little bit of cervical support, or you may just want to have your head down on the mat. And then prop your knees together, hands somewhere on your body or beside you on the floor. Turn your face to look in one direction and try to bring that shoulder in that direction down. And you're not pushing your face over, you're just simply rolling it to the side. Let's focus on that top nostril here. So as you focus on the top nostril, imagine all your breath coming in and out of that top nostril. Soft jaw, so we're not clamping down on the flow. Two or three more moments, feeling the breath go in and out through that upper side of your nostril. And then take your hands around the sides of your head and move your head back to neutral so the nose faces up. Give yourself a few breaths. Slowing down. Turn your head, pick up your head a little bit and turn it to face the other direction. Bring that same side shoulder down away from the chin. And then focus on this upper side of your nostril, breathing in and out. Meditate on that side, the airflow going in and out through that side. And then using both hands, bringing your head back into neutral, your nose facing up, and then do some nods as though you're doing a little yes, chin down towards chest and then up. And then letting go into relaxation, legs up the wall or extending over a bolster or straight away from you. Find a comfortable place where we can let go. Releasing the energy, the effort. Connection to source energy, connection to that which is breathing you. If you'd like to stay longer, please continue with your practice of Shavasana, final relaxation. If you're ready to sit for a little meditation, slowly move your body once again. Whether you're staying on your back or sitting with me, unite back into the flow of breath, being intentional with our breaths. Let's bring in a mantra, a peaceful mantra, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Saying this to yourself 3 times silently. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. And if you'd like to continue working with this mantra for a few moments in meditation, just continue to connect in with the flow, reciting the mantra, aligning with our breaths. And is there another being that you'd like to extend this, radiating this in service to another? Maybe there's someone that comes to your heart or to your mind that you'd like to include in this practice, the benefits of this practice. If you're closing with me, uniting your hands on your heart in gratitude, thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide today. Have a blessed, sacred day.